So, welcome. Welcome. Hopefully in that short time you made a friend or you had a connection and you got to know somebody new or you got to better know somebody you already knew. My name is Soren and welcome to the 15th Annual Wisdom 2.0. Wisdom 2.0, actually how many people here are here for the first time? Raise your hand. Wow. And how many people have been here before? Cool. And how many people are here secretly hoping they're going to find a partner or get a relationship this weekend? Keep your hands up, keep your hands up. People come for all kinds of reasons. But the spirit of this event is about community and connection. And I got the insight about 15, 16 years ago that there was almost no doubt in my mind whether the external technologies of our age were going to continue to advance and get cooler and more powerful and niftier. That was, to me, like unquestionable. The real question of our time is whether the internal technologies of presence, of awareness, of compassion, of wisdom, would those rise as these rise, or would the technologies of our age rise so much that they squash any sense of inner development, any sense of self-awareness? And so I thought, this is a really important conversation to have. Like, how are we going to navigate this world of technology and also being better humans? And so I thought, we need to come up with a gathering where all of us come together and we look as openly and as wisely and as clearly as possible and say, what is going on in our society? Now, I had no idea at the time that something like artificial intelligence would be created or VR, or like all these things. But I also see a world in which we are kind of on the edge of devastation in some ways. That the technology and all of the knowledge and all the information is wonderful on one level, but it can also kind of destroy us on another level. And if you look at what's happening, the wars that are going on, whether it's Ukraine or the Middle East or climate change, it's not because we don't have enough land for people to live on, or it's not because we don't have enough food for people to eat. What is causing all this? It's the fact that we don't know who we are. We haven't worked on our own trauma. We haven't worked on our own pain. We haven't looked at ourselves more deeply to discover that there's a deeper dimension of intelligence inside each one of us. And whether you call it presence or self-energy, as our friend Dick Schwartz calls it, or love, or whatever we want to call it, there's this human capacity that we have to expand, to grow, to learn, to be more conscious, to be more loving, to like break through things that have limited us. And it feels like we're kind of on the precipice of some big, I don't know what's going to happen. It feels like our society and world is moving to some kind of apex. And we're going to like either shift in this way or kind of shift this way. We're going to shift towards more division and more hatred and more anger, or we're going to shift towards more openness and more generosity and more care and more of a sense of us. And is the me going to win or is the we going to win? And my hope is that all of us coming together, we kind of create a possibility, if you will. We create our own little vortex, if you will, of can humans come together and really begin to explore from all these different dimensions, whether it's meditation or therapy or psychedelics or community and connection, expand our awareness and expand our consciousness. So even though there's like speakers on the stage and there's an audience out here that we have this kind of old structure, my encouragement is that each one of you, I invite you to show up with as much presence and love and care as possible. And I guarantee you that when a speaker walks out here and they look at a room of people looking on their cell phones, that creates a certain energy, right? It creates a certain field. And when a speaker comes out here and they see people just there with them, that creates its own field. And I would argue that the best speakers and the best material come not because of them. They come because the field of what they're walking into invites something out of them. So you are very, 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 very important in terms of what comes out of this field and what we co-create together. And so the invitation, I'm not saying never look at your phone or if you need to look at your phone, but let's see if we can practice creating a vortex and creating a container and creating a sense of presence and creating a sense of openness so that when people come out here, they might say things they've never said before, or something might come out of them that would never have come out any other way because we are creating that field. And my hope, I like many of you, I look at climate change, I look at the wars, I look at the US election, coming in. And it's very, very easy to be hopeless. And it's very, very easy to be wondering how on earth we're going to make it, particularly with the level of depression and anxiety and suicides amongst our young people. And if you look at the young people of today, like, what are they telling us? Why are they so unhappy? 95% or something of kids in the US has smartphones. They have access to all this knowledge, all this information. Why are they so unhappy? And there's probably multiple reasons they're so unhappy, but what are they trying to tell us as adults that we need to think about and we need to do, and we need to recreate a different universe than we've created? That the model that we've had in the past isn't so much bad or wrong, it just needs a serious reboot. And in all these years, we can't rethink capitalism? Like, come on, like, we should be able to rethink capitalism. Rethink, how do we have a sense of purpose and community and connection and love within our society, and how do we take care of the people that need to be taken care of? And how do we stop spending $40 billion on prisons and actually look at the trauma that people need to heal from and understand that there's things there that if we can use the right modalities, we can actually support a different level of healing. And instead of this like separation and exiles and me and them and they're the bad ones and we're the good ones, is there some way that we can break through that level of kind of state of consciousness and move into something that is actually a world our teenagers want to grow up in? And maybe the world we've created is actually just not a world they want to actually thrive in. And so I'm very honored to be here today, and I'm very honored to be with you today. We will have a lot of questions. We will explore this from multiple channels. I don't have all the answers, but I do know one thing, and this was kind of from the beginning, that no one person has the answers, but if we bring all of us together in a collective, and we all put our pieces in, and the tech leaders have their voice, and the therapists have their voice, and the meditation teachers have their voice, and the researchers have their voice, and the activists have their voice, potentially something can emerge. Potentially there's a way forward. And I've always liked this phrase that says, I always never get it quite right, but it says, the most seaworthy vessel is not supposed to spend its life at the shore. Something like that. And so it's easy to look at our times like, holy shit, how did we get ourselves in this mess? Or we can look at these times and be like, oh my God, we are a seaworthy vessel. We want the storm. Let's invite the storm. We don't want to live in the storm, but like, we're made for storms. Like, we're made to bring ourselves together in ways that we never thought possible. And as I look at these times and I think, how are we going to do it? It's probably some idea that I've never even thought of, because rather than working separately in isolation, there's an invitation to come together in a way that I don't think there has ever been before. And so my hope is that we can just add pieces to your life. Each one of you is like a super important role to play in the world. I don't know exactly what your role is, but I know if you're here today, there's some of your karmic assignment or some gift or some offering that's in your heart that wants to come forth. And if we can inspire that, cultivate that, nurture that, and you can leave here feeling like, wow, I'm not alone. And there's something in me that I can give back to the world. There's some piece I can play to help create this next chapter of the world that we're going to create. Then I would say we've done a really, really good job. And our hope is, as we put together this schedule, you'll hear from some amazing, amazing people. Some will resonate more than not, which is totally fine. You'll hear some people who are like, yeah, that didn't resonate, and other people you hear that's resonate. And my hope is that you get introduced to a lot of things, and then you might want to follow up, and you might want to go do a Zen retreat, or you might want to go do an IFS intensive, or you might want to go do a psychedelic experience, or you might want to go do something else. And so my hope is that during these few days together, you'll get introduced to a lot of things, and some will resonate more than others, and that you'll follow that, and that will partly be your gift and that you're offering. I often like to say that it's better to light a candle than to complain about the darkness. And I feel like this is my candle. You know, like, this is the candle that we're going to all light and see what we can create together. And it doesn't mean that there's not a place for complaining and getting pissed off and screaming and yelling and talking shit about people, which has a place. But we don't want to live there. We don't want to stay there. We're seaworthy vessels. And so here we are, and we have this moment together. And my invitation then is to let's make the most of this moment. So one of the ways that I would encourage that is just to always come back to see this as actually more of a retreat than a conference. So how are we showing up? Is our heart open or closed? What's happening in our inner world? Do we need time by ourselves? Do we need time with a group? How do we actually fully show up while we're here as if this was a practice? And then to see the practice as your walk to go to the bathroom, it's just as important as the speaker that you're wanting to hear in 5 minutes. There's nothing more important than that walk. There's nothing inherently more important than one moment than any other moment. No moment is more important than any other moment. So that walk to the bathroom, the most profound experience could happen on that walk to the bathroom, or in the bathroom for that matter. All kinds of things can happen. And so I would invite us all to look at this as a practice, and that every moment has its own beauty, and that we have the potential, again, to create something that we can't create on our own. And that when the speakers come out here and this community that we create together, we need your love, we need your presence, we need your care, we need your attention. And that potentially we can begin, I'm not to get too far out, but why not? I do feel like there is a possibility of humanity that the more humans that can show and be that possibility, the more that can happen in other areas. But a few people have to show that that's possible, right? And I'm sure there's many centers and Zen centers and different places where they're also cultivating that. Eckhart Tolle calls it frequency holders. There's frequency holders that we're emerging with. And so my hope would be that what can we embody this weekend that kind of sends a ripple through the universe of possibility, right? It just kind of starts to have its own wavelength. And not to get all egoic, like we created this wavelength, but just like, oh my goodness, let's see if we can come together and be fully present and learn and grow together and see what happens. And I am thrilled at the people we have that can hold that presence. Tonight we have some amazing speakers. It's a true, true, true honor. And I mean this sincerely. I don't know how I got this job. I didn't apply. What I wanted to work in the tech world. And I couldn't get a job. Nobody would hire me. I actually applied at Google and at Twitter, and they're like, you have no experience. I'm like, fuck. And so I needed a job, and I had to figure out another job. And so I thought, I want to do something with tech. And so I was like, maybe I'll create my own job. And then I learned a secret, which is mostly humans just make shit up. It's true. Every religion, every monetary system, every religious system, they didn't just come. People just made shit up. And so we're all here, hopefully, to co-create a new chapter of what we think is possible. And it's not only can be done, it's the only thing that's ever done, is humans have a vision, and humans create those visions. And so my hope is that we can start to foster a vision for this next chapter that hopefully is sustainable for this world. And maybe humans need to go at some point, and that'll be what it'll be. But it would be nice to kind of die like a nice old age, than kind of destroy ourselves. It'd be nice to live a long and happy, healthy life. And I feel like our presence here hopefully adds to that possibility. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for bringing your presence. I always like to tell people, I know it's a little bit hard coming to a Wisdom 2.0 event because you're like, where do I go? What should I wear? I don't want to look like I tried too hard with my clothes, but I don't want to look sophisticated. So I always try to tell people, you're dressed perfectly. You're sitting right next to the exact person you need to sit next to. You're just where you want to be. And so welcome to all of you. Welcome to our online community. And thank you again for coming. And I'll bring out Michelle Gale now, who will be our co-host for the weekend. Michelle has been with us for almost every year for 15 years.
Yes.
And I met her, she was working at Twitter at the time, and I met her, and I saw her afterwards, and she was like, this is my community. And I remember looking at her, and I was like, either she was microdosing, or she was just really, really connected. And I think you're just really, really connected, but you can microdose too. But I'll leave it to you from now.
Thanks, Soren. And wait, pause, Soren.
Oh, yeah.
Just one more. We don't thank him enough. So lucky. We're so lucky. Thank you.